Welcome to the Industry Insider, brought to you by PromoCorner. Each week, promotional product professionals Meg Erber, Jeff Franklin, and Stephen McFadden, along with special guests, will discuss industry news, trends, and events with a focus on educating the promotional products industry. The Industry Insider, the nerdy news you need to know.
Welcome to another episode of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast, where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, the National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA. I'm joined today by four other lovely folks. But of course, before we get to them, we got to tell you about our sponsors for today, our good friends over at the Brentwood line. Brentwood line specializing in chairs, coolers, backpacks, blankets, a well-respected supplier known not just for their high-quality products, but also known for their customer service. Brentwood line values and appreciates its customers to the greatest extent, and they want to make sure your expectations are met. So be sure to head over to BrentwoodLine.com to check out the latest products for all your outdoor needs and tell them the Industry Insider sent you. Why don't we say hi to Meg Erber? Well, first of all, before we say hi to Meg, we're riddled with tech issues today, so forgive us if anything goes array. So, Meg, how are you? A ray of sunshine.
I'm pretty good. We're going to Disney this weekend, so I'm really excited. We're gonna take Addie. She doesn't know, so we're gonna wake her up Friday morning and surprise her. So,
well, you just told her because I heard she's our biggest listener.
Yeah, she doesn't watch the podcast.
She's at school.
Oh, right.
You know.
Fine.
So
Steve McFadden, how are you?
Good. I've been rocking solo dad life for the last week, so I'm super excited for the missus to get back and I can recover. So I do not envy that for anybody. So I'm, it's been a busy week.
Yeah, I've got to do that a couple times a year now. It's definitely it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Recover.
Well, yeah, that too. All right, Robert Fiveash with Brand Fuel. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, guys, and thank you for the chance to jump on today. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm good.
Yeah,
having a good day. I have bad poison ivy. I just if I kind of go down and scratch for about 10 seconds, that's what's happening. So,
well, I feel like I get a story of how that happened, right?
What's that?
So we need a story of how that happened, I guess.
Yeah, well, I was camping with my buddy, our 30th in a row river trip this past weekend, and we were looking for firewood. And man, I've had poison ivy 10,000 times in my life, and still can't learn my lesson. So I deserve it.
I get poison ivy if I literally look at poison ivy. So stay away, wherever side you're on. Stay away.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason we put him right beside you, Meg.
Yeah.
And returning guest, Danny Rosen with Brand Fuel. How are you doing, man? This is like the third time I think we've had you on the show.
Yeah, not sure, but I'm always grateful to be invited and love hanging out with you guys. But I'm doing really well. I don't have poison ivy. It's funny that the last time I was on this platform, I had this image up as my backstop, which is this is an artist painted this in a wall in Ukraine when the war started, and so seeing it kind of brought back some memories. And I haven't shared this with a lot of folks, but we have a Ukrainian kid moving in with us. The Rosen household actually arrives at 7 p.m. tonight, so we're hosting the family and. In a way that puts a lump in my throat and fills my heart. So kind of in line with, I think, some of the stuff we're going to talk about today. So I decided to leave this kid up because this is kind of what it's all about right now.
Aww.
That's pretty awesome, man. Like, kudos to you for doing that too.
Really?
My wife gets lots of credit. So but yes, all of us, it's going to be awesome and hard.
Yeah. For sure. Well, we're excited to have you back. It's always fun having you on the show, and you are definitely a favorite for sure. So we're here to talk today because you guys got some special news to share with us, right? A little bit about Brand Fuel.
Yeah, we do. You want us to jump into it, Robert? You want to start?
Yes.
Do we need to know how they got into the industry?
Yeah. Just before we jump into that and jump into the topic, why don't you guys do just a quick introduction? Danny, just in case people haven't tuned into one of the other episodes you've been on, why don't you give us a 3 to 4 minute introduction of yourself, maybe how you got started in the promotional products industry and what you've been up to since, and then we'll go to Robert for the same.
Yeah, got into the industry way long ago when I was in college. I was trying to figure out a way to pay the difference on my parents' ability to pay for college. I was an out-of-state kid, went to from Virginia, where Robert and I grew up. We were high school and junior high friends, so that's how this whole thing started with Brand Fuel. But trying to pay the difference between an in-state and out-of-state college. I ended up selling a lot of Duke Sucks t-shirts when I was at the University of North Carolina. Got to know a screen printing company in town. There was a warmed over flower child hippie guy named Odie there who taught me a lot about enjoyment of work and design and printing. And I was just selling shirts door to door to be able to compensate that kind of that gap in what I needed to pay for college instead of having a 9 to 3 job or a late night job in school. And that carved my path into the industry. And I worked for him for a while. And then when it was time to start my own thing, I called my best friend, the person I trusted most in this world. He was my stockbroker at the time. He was the guy that I snuck into Ramones concerts with using our fake IDs when we were kids. His name is Robert Fiveash. And we've been friends for just about 40 years. The beauty of the friendship is that we're still together as business partners after 25 years. And together, we started out in this industry trying to be the original, trying to do things that were different and to push the limits a bit. And I think we've done some of that, and I think our future is still bright. So we hit 25 years in February. Really proud. We have an amazing staff. We're up to 53 people, I think now. It's crazy. A lot of growth right now. Our online store platform is one of the drivers of that, but also a real focus on using the business as a force for good, and also trying to elevate the industry by being more open source minded and sharing, what we're doing and helping others along the way. And we've been involved in helping start some of the things that we're most proud of in our industry with regards to nonprofit and giving and things like that, but still having fun. And I'll leave it at that. Robert, you're up.
Yeah. You kind of rocked it. So I started in the business in 98 with Danny. Was a big fan of branded merch, before that. But I was in the financial services industry. I was a stockbroker for a company called A.G. Edwards, which is no longer around. It got consumed by one of the big banks. But I did that for a few years. Enjoyed it, was good at it, but knew I didn't want to do that forever, and ended up going to get my MBA at William & Mary, and was about to graduate in 98. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do at the time. I thought I was probably going to get back into finances, but it wasn't really exactly what I wanted to do. And as Danny mentioned, the two of us sort of got together at a very serendipitous time, and he was kind of looking to make a move, and I was kind of looking to make a move. And over a weekend and a bunch of beers, we said, gosh, if we can't kick a lot of ass in this crazy industry, like we're not worth it. So we really looked hard at all kinds of different marketing initiatives and realized that this was one where we could really kick some butt. And with Danny's experience in it, we said this is a no-brainer. And so I started really as like the finance ops guy, and Danny was really the sales and marketing guy. And it was a very clear split between what we did, and that worked really, really well for a while as we got started. And as we grew, the job roles really morphed a lot, and we both became sales managers of our different areas. So Danny's down in the Raleigh area, and I'm up in Virginia Beach. I still do a lot of finance, legal, sales management, et cetera. Some marketing. Danny takes care of most of that. But my big focus right now is international. It's a bigger and bigger part of our company's business. I'm on the board of IPAG, the International Partnership for Premiums and Gifts. And we are really trying to make sure that our salespeople have all of the tools they need to manage the complicated world of international branded merch sales. So I'm really focusing on that, but doing the other things I mentioned. And as Danny mentioned, 25 years into this, it is remarkable that that we are, the two of us are as sort of happy and content with each other as we are. Like as you all know, it is really hard to have a business partner, and we're very different, and we complement each other in a lot of ways. And if we hadn't had that friendship and respect that came from early on, we probably wouldn't have made it. I'm just really grateful for having that foundation, because I think that's why we're still here and still making a difference and still having fun. So glad it's turned out this way.
I love you, man.
That's awesome. Very cool story, and happy for both of you. And before we do launch into the topic, Brendan had actually just chimed in and said that all the normal hosts are coordinating the hoodies. I guess the Brand Fuel group have turned on the heat in their respective buildings. Yeah, my family likes to play a little game called "How long can we go before we turn the heat on?"
That's great.
Yeah. And Steven wants to look like a candy cane, or not candy cane, candy corn. My favorite.
Is that why he did it? Because of the bet? Oh, there's blue underneath. All right, fair enough.
It's blue. It's
All right.
it's a tipsy elf.
That's the green screen of the sweatshirt. Anyway. Well,
Yeah, I guess.
Just achieved your B Corp, which is amazing. I personally think it's gonna set off an entire chain of events for this industry. So, for people who don't know, tell us what B Corp is and what it means to be B Corp, and what does that mean? Like, what does that mean for not only you guys, but the industry itself? I know there's 3 questions there, but yeah.
Annie, hit that one.
I'll hit Robert. As we do, we can finish each other's sentences. I'll start with what a B Corp is. It's basically a designation that allows companies to go through a verified process with an organization called B Lab, so third-party validation that allows you to check on performance, accountability, and also transparency around one, we say taking care of employees, so employee benefits. 2, charitable giving, and how you do that in your backyard. When you think about also 3, the environment and supply chain practices and what materials we're selling. Are we selling things that are sustainable? That's a buzzword, a great buzzword for our industry and every company really. But even more so, drilling down to the root materials. Are people who are making these things for us to sell in our industry, are they being paid a fair wage? Are they making things in safe environments? And so this is about commitment to social and environmental performance. And you have to go through this. It's called a B impact assessment, and it is extremely hard. And I just can't stress that enough. The B Labs that runs this impact assessment. I mean, we probably have 400 hours into the application process, and the auditing took even longer than that. It is a real deal heavy lift and commitment. So as we talk about, Robert, I'm going to let you talk about how that will affect our business going forward. We've worked really hard at this. We applied 10 years ago when B Corp was very an early on designation for businesses. And we failed miserably. We got like a 56, I believe, because we didn't know where things were being made in our industry. So just a shout out to PPAI for focusing on product safety and awareness. If you're not taking those classes and learning about it, distributor or supplier, please do that. It's critical for us to consider reputational management in our business that way, by making sure we're bringing safe products into the industry. We applied again about 2.5 years ago. B Labs is very busy right now, which is good. It says that they got a lot of entrants into from all over across all industries internationally to apply for this certification. There are only about 5,000 companies out of 330 million who have it right now. Some that you know of would be Patagonia, Allbirds, Ben & Jerry's. I know there's New Belgium Brewing. There's a lot of local ones in your backyard. You can just look up B Corporation and find them. There's a great resource or 3 of products we could bring into the space through the B Corporation world, which I get really excited about. And then the last thing I'll say, and again, Robert, if you can talk about Brand Fuel, where we're going with this. I think our industry is trying to reach its potential right now. And I think this is one incredible pathway. Whether you apply for the B Corp certification, and we would tell you, please go through the process anyway. Like I said, it's a lift, but you'll learn things about your business where you have strengths and weaknesses, and where there are weaknesses, you can invest in those things to really, use your business as a force for good. But this idea that, this is a challenge to everyone, but suppliers, I think in particular. And so I would just say, if you all can create these products that are aligned with giving back and sustainability, our sales teams can buy in and focus on ESG and CSR as touch points to our customers. And our customers buy into this stuff like we know that they are, and they want this stuff. All of a sudden, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're generating more sales. We're generating more sales. Our industry reputation is elevated. We're challenging our customers to think in a more pragmatic way about their brands on things that don't end up in the landfill. We call it brand fill. Jamie Mayer, great terminology there. But essentially, we're marketing products and services, casting a wider net. We're creating education and more interest for our industry, and so we elevate the industry as a whole, and that is really promising.
Very important too, I think, because we've been, I think recently there was even some articles put out. They want to consider correlate our industry to trinkets and trash. And I think it's about us elevating that conversation, changing the way they think about it. And it's a really good way to do it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, Robert, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton to add to that, Danny. I will say that, in terms of the journey, it has been a 10-year journey, and we've evolved a ton over 25 years. We just had a sales meeting yesterday where we talked a little bit about that evolution. And, we sort of started our sort of shtick back in the day was as a really creative and fun company. And that was sort of how we labeled ourselves and how clients saw us. And then as we sort of matured, we moved more towards a strategic partner. That's the value that we brought to the table. And this sort of next phase is really about purpose and sustainability. And I just wanted to tell a quick story. Back in 2019, when I was in Hong Kong for my very first IPAG conference, each of the groups was, so IPAG, 40 different companies in 40 different countries, and I was meeting them for the very first time. And you're supposed to talk about something that's really impactful in your business that people might benefit from. And so Danny and I chatted a little bit about it ahead of time. And when I was there, I started pitching what we call fuel kits. And fuel kits are really just creative packaging, 360, full color, all this kind of stuff. And we had lots of samples and slides, and we're really proud of these fuel kits that we thought were just so great. And so I'm surrounded by mostly European distributors, and the presentation went okay, and was expecting a bit of an applause, coming. And essentially, it was like, you could hear a pin drop, and it was almost like an audible gasp. It truly was like walking into a den of snakes, and they were all very kind, but essentially what they were telling me was like, hey, Americans, we're about 5 years ahead of you guys on sustainability, and you just spent 20 minutes talking about packaging. And guess what? The next 2 hours are going to be about how we can reduce packaging and how we can, use other ways to get the same message across without getting things in the landfill. And so Danny and I have always been, it's been in our DNA to use business as a force for good, but even we and certainly we have not fulfilled that on the sustainability front throughout our entire journey. And so, the cool thing about starting your own business, and one of the reasons we wanted to start our own business, is these things have always been in our DNA, but we haven't always had the ability to implement them. And so some of what we're doing today is more like formalizing things that we've wanted to do or believed in all these years and are finally able to get to it. So this thing about a journey with the B Corp and sustainability and transparency and looking at supply chain, like there's never the perfect time to start the journey. And 5 years ago, like even though we thought we were pretty progressive on this front, 5 years ago compared to the Europeans, like we were way behind. And so that was a bit of a slap in the face and a momentum builder for us to really get moving on this and finish it. And I want to personally thank Danny for being, a bulldog about this. It is a long journey, and it's easy to get distracted with everything else that we've got going on and you've got going on and that kind of thing. And he did what it took to get all of the data and put it together and submit and resubmit, and here we are. And so thank you, Danny, for sticking with it for such a long period. I know it wasn't easy. So
I feel like how many times can I say I love you, man, in one session? I shout out though to Fairwear up in Canada, friends and partners, and Denise is on the PromoCares board. She's also on the PPAI board. But you want to talk about an organization that's really doing it right? Check out Fairwear. I think they're leading by example. We've got a lot to learn. We got an 87.1 out of 100. Again, we got a 56 10 years ago. So we're heading in the right direction. We've got a lot to live up to. And I think our industry just, again, like if we can do this as an industry, whether you get a certification or not, like we're validating the industry in our clients' eyes, and they're willing to pay, a premium for that, I think. And let's keep that in mind.
So I have kind of a two-part question. When I think about B Corps, I often think that it would be easier if you only sold one product or if you sold a service, right? So you could align yourself with less variables. And I wonder, our industry specifically probably is very difficult because of all the different factors and, third party integration between different suppliers and different factories in different countries. So what was kind of the hardest sticking point, being in this industry to become a B Corp? Because I feel like it would be very challenging. As you said, it was, was there something that made it more difficult?
Yeah, Robert, you want to try and answer that, or you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of them, and you're right, Stephen. The supply chain piece is a massive part of it. So you get points, as Danny mentioned. You have to reach a certain threshold, and you get points for various things, and different segments matter more to B Corp than others. And one of the most important things we did was we created a survey to our salespeople and asked them about any sort of leadership roles in nonprofits that they had out there in the world. So either leading it or being on a committee or being a lead volunteer or something like that. And that was a real key driver for additional points on the scale. We were able to find out from the 50 or so employees that we have that there was an enormous amount of volunteer work within our organization. Some of it done on company time, but a lot of it done on weekends or days off that we allowed them to take off to do some of this volunteer work. That was a key driver. Danny, I don't remember, it might have been 10 full points when we were able to really fill that piece out that kind of got us over the edge.
Not 10, but it's up there. It's a big one. I mean, I think they want to see your staff be invested in community, and it's interesting. We've always in our our handbooks it says you can we will pay you to volunteer. Basically, it's pay time off to volunteer, but not as many people take advantage of that. And so we create things quarterly, sometimes monthly, where our staff goes out and volunteers and in the community, which is great. But I think more than that, we didn't realize how many people are involved in nonprofits on their own, and the points really come when they're invested while they're on the company dime, and so that's important. But to go back to your question about the plastic stuff that's being made mostly in China, Stephen, and how hard that is, it's extremely hard. I think the industry is moving in the right direction. Again, we just challenge our suppliers to keep working on that. You look at like PCNA, they've got like a whole thing called Proud Path. Sanmar has just done an amazing job creating a playbook around transparency and where things are being made and how we have access to that information. You're starting to see brands on the fringes like Love Bottle and Refresh Glass that are just so cool that we're our entrance into the industry. So big corporations and small ones that are really doing some amazing things that allow you to pick a lane. So if someone asks you for drinkware and they want to go cheap, you have to challenge them. We say we're a challenger agency at Brand Fuel. So if a customer requests that $3 water bottle that probably is going to last for a year, how can we show them something that's going to last for 5 years? It's made of sustainable materials, something that people will cherish and love. And when we break it all down, we just have to ask ourselves, personally as salespeople, would we wear, use, or want this product? And then even kind of a bigger question is, will it end up in the landfill? And if the answers to some of those questions start to go down the path of yes, it'll end up in the landfill, and no, I would not want this, stress reliever in a funny shape for this thing. I mean, it's a little toy. Then maybe we're doing our clients a disservice. So let's push back and let's find those products that are in the marketplace that are new and unique, and some of the brand name stuff that's out there now. It's going to last and people will embrace it. And I think that's what it comes down to. And, if we're just willing to take an order and be order takers, just go to 4imprint. We can't do that as an industry. We have to really think strategically. We have to understand our clients' initiatives and objectives. And I promise you this, that every corporation out there right now that we are selling to is talking about CSR, corporate social responsibility, ESG, environmental social governance. They are focusing on it. It's in their strategic plan. And when you can come up with products that align with that, you win.
Yeah, just to add to that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there are obviously business opportunities to be had by achieving a certification like this. It's not the reason we started the journey, but it's kind of a nice fringe benefit. And they've also, we've had several companies reach out, big companies, just in the last week since we got it, saying we found you on the list online of B Corps, which is really nice to see. But as I was mentioning in Poland a couple of weeks ago with IPAG, we were doing some presentations again. We are really starting to, I think, understand that you think back 10 years ago in eco and how that was really kind of a trend, and every supplier sort of bought into the eco thing, and but it really wasn't. It was not something that was terribly meaningful in terms of like its real impact on the environment and the world. And I think it was more of a kind of a marketing thing. And I think this movement today is really, really, really different. Danny mentioned brand fill. There are forces out there that like literally move mountains in our industry. I mean, you think of government and trends and demographics. I can say this because I'm an old guy. The kids that are now buyers of branded merch or are going to be in the next 5 or 10 years, they have a very different mindset than the oldsters like us, and they really, really, really do care about sustainability and supply chain and transparency and how you treat your employees and that kind of thing. And so I think starting to see sustainability in the same terms as survivability in our industry is going to be a very smart thing to do. You cannot go against those massive trends, the demographic trends. And if we got behind the 8 ball with the governments or the people buying this stuff, we're just not, we're going to really struggle to turn that around. So I think it's smart to get ahead of this. I think our survivability as an industry in many ways depends on it. So while we're, I think as a company, a little bit behind the 8 ball compared to the Europeans, we hope we can be a little bit of a leader here in the US. And obviously, if anybody out there listening has questions about how we did it, or what the impact has been to us so far, hit us up.
You touched on a good point, and I wanted to just say something about it really quickly. You said since you've obtained your B Corp, you have had larger companies or big companies reach out to you. And that's a very key point, because a lot of times when I have this conversation with colleagues or coworkers, whatever, in this industry, they say to me, are people really buying and asking for it? I don't have a single customer that's ever asked me for it. And to that, I always say, do they know that you sell it? Do they even know that you have any passion for it? Because I'll tell you what, I don't sell to all of my customers, but my customers know that I'm passionate about it. So when they are working on that project, they come to me first because they know that I'm going to point them in the right direction for the product, the brand, for the experience, for the education, because they know that I'm passionate about it. What advice would you give to people listening for if they can, that we're in that same boat, hey, I just don't have those customers. What does this mean to me? What kind of advice would you give to them?
Yeah, Danny, why don't you answer that? But I'll just say one quick thing to start it off. I don't know if you all saw the latest promogram that came out like right before we jumped on, but basically it's do you need a chief sustainability officer? And I think the numbers were something like 38% of companies of a certain size have a CSO, and that it's growing and growing and growing. And so I can't name the company, the multi-billion-dollar company, honestly, that reached out in the last week, but obviously they have a CSO. More and more big companies have CSOs. This is not eco of 10 years ago. This is a real movement, and I think the fact that big companies, sorry for the airplanes, are investing in this with C-suite people really means that this is real. Danny, you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I think if first of all, if you don't believe in it and you don't see this as something that is important to you or to your company or to your clients, then why present it? I mean, don't just sell it to, for the sake of making money. If you're not seeing it in your space, the other point I would make is maybe you should be proactive. I mentioned a couple suppliers and they're just, I certainly give shout outs to Headwear USA and SNS Activewear. It's not lost on me that you guys are doing this, and those companies are allowing you to provide this education in this format. Like there's CSR in that. And you guys have great products as well around sustainability. So shout outs there to you both and your organizations, but find the products, challenge your customers. I said before, present them. We are having our sales team present in our presentations. There will be a sustainability section and offering every single time we put a presentation out. Get into the rhythm of it, find out what's out there, educate yourself as to what the products and services are. And when you go to ASI and PPAI shows coming in January, the big ones, and you've got another one coming up, you can talk about Meg soon here, I know those companies, those suppliers out there are going to be featuring products that are sustainable. And do your homework on those products as well, making sure that they are as viable as they are marketed. And that's one thing I think we worry about with the eco and eco greenwashing is, what does sustainability really mean? And understanding that again comes back to education.
Yeah, so one thing that I wanted to sort of chime in there with, and a question that I had, and it could be a closing question if you guys want. But ultimately, why B Corp? Like, what is, because there's so many different like audits and certifications and things like that out there. What makes B Corp different? Because I know with us, the Headwear being an international company, Robert, what you were saying with the Europeans being so much further ahead of the U.S. market when it comes to sustainable and sustainability and that whole market segment, it's 100% true. I mean, us being a global company, we get that push a lot, and typically it comes from the European companies within Headwear that sort of lead that charge. But we're a 4-pillar CEDX audited factory. I mean, how is it different being B Corp? Like, why B Corp?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of designations that are out there in this world. B Corp seems to be like at the pinnacle of it all for us. I mean, that the incredible measurement that they do, and again, the validation that comes with that certification, having been around for longer than most, is the reason why we chose B Corp. The process was so educational, and B Labs and the team at B Corp and the community around it of 5,500 or so businesses right now, they really support each other and educate each other and uplift each other. So we found a kind of a new community, which was important to us. I think I think we were able to look at the process that we would go through, even though it was an incredible lift, and realize that structurally, where we are today as a business, process-wise, and with our team, that this was the pathway for us into the future. So we try to look at brand fuel. I always say the was, the is, and the will be. The question for us really was, what are we going to be, in our next 25 years, and what path do we want to take, and what organization do we want to align with, and what gives us the credibility to be able to not just say, hey, we sell sustainable products, because honestly, guys, that is the cost of entry now. Right. Everybody's talking about sustainable, and you're missing out if you're not. But all of a sudden, Brand Fuel now has a designation that says we're doing it a little bit more in depth than most. And honestly, this is the hardest part, is like keeping ourselves accountable to that. We have to reapply. It costs money. It's a lot of time, energy, and resources to do it. But for Robert and I and Allison and Mary and Eric and all these people that help us lead this company, I think we've realized that it's important to have a business that leaves a legacy behind outside of just capitalism and making money. And something we're proud to share with our kids, and something that we could look at ourselves when we retire one day and say, this is something that we strove for the highest ideals that we possibly could, ethics and morals, and we never cut corners. And we've always done that, but the certification delivers that.
Jeff, just to add to that, Danny, that was actually very eloquent. It's probably the most. What's that?
I love you, man.
Love you too.
We need a little counter on the bottom every time Danny says it. It'll just keep going up one. Yeah.
Jeff, I think also it's like the fact that it's kind of the most recognizable out front certification in retail that we all sort of see and recognize. Mm-hmm. It's not like some ISO certification in the background at the factory or what have you. It's something that people can recognize and get behind. And I think that's another reason why we chose this one, because of the fact that it's recognized and it's something that people can actually understand and start to appreciate, and maybe have those same conversations in their own companies, because it is something that they've seen before. So that's another reason.
Yeah, that's kind of the answer that I was expecting, but I just wanted to put it out there for everybody, So very cool. Meg, Stephen, any other closing questions or statements?
I just want to say you guys always set the bar really high. I hope the industry is paying attention. I think that you guys have really just gone above and beyond to do your part for this industry and the future of it, and for the kids that are coming in. So everyone should be keeping an eye on what Brand Fuel is doing if they aren't already. So kudos to you guys.
Sure. Thanks, Meg.
No, I'm just glad that I know you guys personally, and I will have lots of questions as I always do, but it's been awesome, and the story keeps continuing with you guys, which is incredible. So,
thank you.
Awesome. I have one more question for Robert specifically. How's the poison ivy?
Well, I will say you've probably seen me itch a little on my arms. It hasn't gotten any better in the last 45 minutes, but it's not that bad.
He had just stopped thinking about it until you asked him, Jeff.
Exactly.
Listen,
I'd actually really like to show you, but it just probably isn't.
Don't do that, please. Yeah. I've seen it.
Look, our sponsors can't help you out with the poison ivy, but since you're doing all these outdoor activities where you got the poison ivy, I can tell you where to go for that stuff.
Oh,
good friends over at Brentwood line. Look, they're specializing in chairs, coolers, backpacks, and blankets. They're a well-respected supplier, not known just for their high-quality product, but also for their customer service. Brentwood line values and appreciates its customers to the greatest extent. And they want to make sure that their clients' expectations are met. So be sure to head over to BrentwoodLine.com to check out the latest and greatest for all of your outdoor product needs, Robert. So when you're out there doing your river runs and floats and whatever else outdoors, you got to go check them out. All right.
See you there.
Sounds good. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Promo Corner's Industry Insider. For more great content from industry thought leaders, including podcasts, blogs, and videos, visit promocorner.com.